Good day everyone, this is Valian Pinithan and today I'll be sharing about string beans or pull bean production. These are prepared by Grufaldi Love A, United Valian V and Hanayan Marjorie A, submitted to Mr. Dominic D. Velarde. Introduction. String beans is one of the most widely grown vegetables in the Philippines. It is a true legume and botanically more closely related to cowpea. The tender pods are edible while the skin is still smooth and before seeds mature or expand. The young leaves and stem can be boiled or steamed and eaten as green vegetables. Per 100 grams of fresh weight, the green pods can provide 2 grams protein, 8.2 grams carbohydrates, and substantial amount of calcium and other minerals. When boiled, the young leaves are a good source of protein and vitamin A. It is grown throughout the year, but the best time to plant is from May to June for wet season planting and from October to November for a dry season. Biopersona. String beans is a common staple in households across the country. They go by several names, some of the most popular ones being snap beans and string beans. Despite their name, however, they're not always green. The green bean is a type of common beans or Phaseolus vulgaris, and it can be yellow or purple too. The legumes are full of antioxidants including vitamin C, flavonols, quercetin, and camphorol. These antioxidants fight free radicals in the body, which helps to reduce cell damage and may help to lower your risk of certain health conditions. So, the contents of this are what is string beans, how to successfully grow and produce string beans, how much does it cost to string production, and how to make money with string beans. So, this is string beans or pull bean. So the question is, what is string beans or pull bean production? So string beans are beans that are eaten fresh long before seeds themselves have come to maturity. They are also called green beans, snap beans, French beans, or runner beans. Varieties well suited for this type of bean we selected for their flavor, sweetness, crispiness, or other desirable characteristics. Hot, cold, even raw, string beans are versatile in the kitchen and very prolific producers in the garden. Also, beans generally do not respond well to transplanting and are usually direct sown around or just after the last spring frost. The most important point about growing beans is not to plant them too early. They will root in cool, damp soil. Even so, many beans require a long growing season of 80 days or more. To get an earlier start, you can put down black plastic to warm the soil. Most beans should be sown with the eye of the bean facing downward, 1 to 2 deep, approximately 4 to 6 apart with 24 or more between rows. The ideal site will be sunny, well-drained, moderately fertile, and slightly acidic, or pH 6.0 to 7.0. Additionally, bean plants should be well ventilated to promote proper development and deter mildew or mold that can trouble plants. Beans should not be grown in the same spot more than once every 4 years and can be mutually beneficial with corn, strawberries, and cucumber. Avoid planting beans near onion or fennel. So plant bush beans in either rows or blocks with 4 to 6 inches between each seed. Plant the seeds 1 to 2 inches deep and be sure to water the soil immediately and regularly until it sprouts. Pull beans will need some type of support to grow on. Be sure the trellis, tipi, fence, or whatever is it in place before you seed. Plant seeds at a rate of about 3 to 6 seeds per TP or every 6 inches apart. So what is the importance of planting the string beans? So first is pod. As a vegetable, it is rich source of protein, 80 to 30% of vitamins, minerals, and fiber. And the leaves, occasionally used as a vegetable straw, can be used for food. And the medical use, diseases concerning heart, kidney, and bladder dysfunctions. And then it restores soil fertility. So the question is, how to successfully grow and produce string beans? First, it is where we do planting, maintaining, fertilizing, harvesting, and saving seeds. So planting, so we start from seeds. So start seeds, and the germination is 8 to 10 days, 70 Fahrenheit to 80 Fahrenheit. Seed life is 5 years. And planting well drained, slightly acidic. Sunlight, it should be full sun. Seeds is 1 to 2 apart. Seedlings 3 to 4 apart. And days to harvest 60 to 100 days. So in maintaining, first is when watering, try to avoid getting the leaves wet, as these can promote fungus or other damaging condition that beans can be susceptible to. Most types of beans are somewhat drought resistant, but check the surface of the soil frequently and water when the top layer has become dried on. Once established, beans generally will not require fertilizing and will generate their own nitrogen. However, if the leaves of young plants are pale, this is an indication of nitrogen deficiency, and starts can be fertilized with fish emulsion or other natural nitrogen-rich fertile. And third, bush beans begin producing before pole beans and often come in all at once. Staggered planting every 2 weeks will keep your browse beans going longer. Pole beans need time to grow their vines before they start setting beans. The pole bean crop will continue to produce for a month or two. And pole beans may need some initial help in climbing. Keep the beans plant well watered. Mulch helps keep their shallow roots moist. Long producing pole beans will benefit from a feeding or a side dressing of compost or manure about halfway through their growing season. In fertilizing, there are two parts of it: fertilizing basics and fertilizing by the numbers. So fertilizing basics, as mentioned earlier, beans are light feeders. They don't require much fertilizer. It is easy to give them just about all the nutrients they'll need by mixing a light dose of fertilizer into the top 2 to 3 inches of soil on planting day or the day before. 3 to 4 pounds of commercial fertilizer, such as 5-10-10 per 100 square feet, is sufficient for most garden soil, or use the equivalent amount of non-chemical fertilizer such as well-rooted manure, compost, bone meal, and cottonseed meal. And fertilizing by numbers, the numbers on the fertilizer bags indicate by weight the percentages of each of the 3 most important nutrients. These are nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. These are present in the mixture. Although the percentages may vary, the order is always the same: N, P, and K. For instance, 5-10-10, which good for beans, indicates the fertilizer contains 5% nitrogen, 10% phosphorus, and 10% potassium. Nitrogen promotes healthy green leaves and stems, and you don't need much of it for beans. If you have too much, the plant will spend more time making leaves and less time making beans. Phosphorus promotes strong roots and potassium conditions the whole plant, helping it to bear fruit and in harvesting bean is an ongoing process. You can start to harvest anytime, but gardeners usually wait until the beans begin to firm up and can be snapped. They are generally about as to think as a pencil then. Don't wait too long because beans can become overgrown, and though almost overnight, harvest by gently pulling each bean from the vine or by snapping off the vine end if you are going to be using the beans right away. Depending on whether the bean is a snap, a shell, or dry variety will impact and how the beans should be harvested. So in harvesting, there are three kinds of shell beans. These are harvested at a later time than snap beans, once the pods have started to fill out and the enclosed seeds developing inside are apparent. Beans of such varieties are removed from pods and are often eaten fresh but are sometimes dried. This one is the snap beans. These are harvested while the pod and enclosed seeds are still relatively immature. Compared to the other two types of beans, snap beans have the smallest window for an ideal crop. Beans that are harvested too early will not develop the proper flavor and texture. On the other hand, beans that are allowed to develop on the plant too long will be tough and somewhat unpalatable. Perhaps the best simple indicator for snap beans is the diameter of the pods. Generally, most varieties will yield the best snap beans with a diameter between 1/8, 1/4. Maybe the best way to determine suitability for harvest is to sample a pod or two before making a complete harvest. It is worth noting that many varieties of snap beans that are allowed to develop completely also make good dry beans. And dry beans are not harvested until the pods or enclosed seeds have reached complete maturity and will not often require threshing or to remove extraneous pod material. When growing dry beans, it is especially important that growing plants have plenty of space and ventilation so that pods will dry out. If experiencing a spell of rain late in the season, once pods have matured, plants can be removed from ground and hung upside down indoors to allow desiccation to continue. So how do we saving seeds? It is suggested that you earmark a couple of plants at the beginning of the season for seed saving. Do not pick any pods from them to eat. Just pick the crisp brown with pods at the end of the season. Do not feed them or water them unless it is very dry, as this can encourage leafy growth rather than pod development. There is no point in picking green pods as the seeds are not mature enough at this stage. You can save the roots over winter in a frost-free place and replant next year. Rather, beans are perennial but are frost-sensitive, so die back in our climate. However, if the roots are dug up and kept in suitable conditions, the plants often get away early and crop faster. If you grow a lot of beans, this may not be a practical option, but you could try it with 1 or 2 plants perhaps. Store the roots in a frost-free place, buried in slightly moist sand or leaf mold or something similar. So these are the main diseases in bean cultivation. So the first is Pythium root, collar root, anthracnose, rust, bacterial blight, and bean mosaic virus. So how much does it produce to stream production? So in the table, you can see the stream beans updated average cost of production in the Philippines year 2010 to 2012. It includes the items of cash cost, non-cash cost, imported cost, and all cost, and most especially the net returns and the net profit cost ratio. So the question is how to make money with string beans. String beans is proved to be profitable. As a matter of fact, an interview from Patricio Perez in 1992 revealed that after deducting their expenses, they acquired net profit of 857 pesos 0.12 per square meter after maintaining the productive life of his sitiao crop for 6 months. Perez is an agriculture graduate from the Central Luzon State University who first worked for the Department of Agriculture and later at a poultry farm before deciding to become a farmer in Balaong, San Miguel, Bulacan in 1982. After deducting all expenses, he had a net income of 60,000 pesos, which was a big amount in 1985. These are the sources of my PowerPoint, and thank you for watching. I hope you learned something.